right. Hi, everybody. It is Wednesday night, August 16th, and today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is how do you get your weight loss meds when they're not available or your coverage ends? And I'll just say that this is something we are dealing with a lot right now. It is pervasive, what has happened with the injectables in terms of shortage of supply, sudden removal of coverage from the insurance companies. It's been a horrible situation to try to navigate as a physician. And it is breaking my heart that my patients who have been doing so well on these medications are now all of a sudden scampering to try to figure out what to do. So if you ever thought your drug companies, your insurance companies, or your drug companies were on your side, I think this is a good example of, how to show that they really don't care, because they would have taken care of this a long time ago. And instead, it's just become a complete disaster. So anyhow, but let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the injectables and let's talk about what's happening. So when we talk about injectables for weight loss, these are the drugs that you see on social media everywhere. So Ozempic or Wegovy, which is semaglutide, that's a GLP-1 agonist. And then we have Mounjaro, which is I'm so bad at saying this, tirzepatide, and that's also known as Mounjaro, and that is a medication that hits the GLP-1 receptors as well as the GIP receptors, which is a new receptor, which we didn't know very much about, but I'm coming to find out does a lot of things. So we'll talk about that later. So right now we have two distinct issues that people are dealing with. Number one is, you can't find your dose, or there's just a shortage of supply in general. So it's a supply issue, and this continues to be a moving target for us. We don't know, what doses will be available, why some will be available and not others, how we appropriately titrate things when they're not available. So it's become a very, very tricky situation. And so that is the supply piece. And then what really sucks, I'm going to be honest with you, is the whole issue with insurance companies suddenly, for no reason, taking off coverage for these medications in people who have done great. So there are some things that have been happening with the injectables that are unprecedented. Number one is the fact that everybody got, at least for Mounjaro, free 1 year to try this drug that now they are being abruptly withdrawn from. So that's something I've never seen. I've never seen a coupon for a whole year for anyone that wants, and then seen such an abrupt withdrawal that we're seeing right now. So that's unprecedented. And the fact that insurance companies, normally what they've done for us, and I've been doing obesity medicine for 16 years now, going on my 17th, if you can believe it. And what they're doing, usually they used to say you have to, lose a certain amount of weight, and then you can continue to take the drug. They'll offer coverage. But I have people who are incredibly successful on these medications, losing 50 pounds, 100 pounds. And they're still losing their medications, and there's no reason. I mean, there really isn't a stated reason. So it's really bad. So those are the two major things that are going on. So let's talk about, how do we navigate these two distinct situations, and what can you learn from me as a physician who's been dealing with this and who understands how the insurance world works, who understands how the pharmaceutical world works and pharmacy world, so that you can learn some tips and tricks on how to be able to get your drug or switch to something that might be better and cheaper that isn't oldie but goodie. So if you stick around, we're going to talk about that too. All right, so hi everybody who's on. Let's start out with, by the way, if you see this in the rebroadcast and you think that that it may be helpful for someone else who is going through this, just please share it, and that way we can help as many people as possible. There's a lot of people going through this situation right now. All right, so number one is, what do you do if your pharmacy does not have your dose, okay? So the first thing I will say about this is you don't always have to go to the same pharmacy. You can actually pharmacy shop, so you can see what's the cost over at, University Hospital Pharmacy in where we are, or at CVS, or at, Walgreens, or even, Price Chopper. There's a lot of different ways to go. And Walmart. I mean, Walmart tends to have many drugs that are cheaper. So, but also they may have a stockpile that is more available than some of the other ones. So what we have found is university hospitals affiliated with the university, hospitals that are affiliated with the underserved community tend to have a larger stockpile than others. So take a look at those types of places if you can't find it at your pharmacy or any of the surrounding ones. Another thing that I have found is that smaller, more convenient pharmacies that are in small towns actually have sometimes a supply that they're willing to, get for their patients, because there's such a one-on-one, partnership there with their people that they serve. So those are the three things that I would say, but definitely go shopping around. You may find that, a company or one of the pharmacies that had your drug before at a certain dose won't have it this time, but they have a different dose. And the pharmacy down the street has the, 1 milligram, which nobody else has. So do some pharmacy shopping. It really does work. Now, the next option is if you can't find that dose anywhere, but you want to stay on that dose, pick a higher dose or a lower dose from where you're on. So let's say you're on 0.5 milligrams of semaglutide, and your next dose would be 1 milligram. So you could either, if you're on the 0.5 and you've done about 3 or 4 weeks, instead of staying on it, go to the higher dose, the 1 milligram dose, if they have it available. If you are on that 5.5 and they don't have it, they don't have the 1 and they don't have the 0.5, then step down to the 0.25. Okay, so choose a different dose instead of the one you're on, so that you at least have something. Okay, now here's the trick about this. If you choose a lower dose and you've been losing on a certain trajectory, you might not lose as fast on the lower dose, so don't be discouraged. At least you have some coverage, which will help you better than none, okay? If you choose a higher dose than you've been on, and it's been less than 4 weeks, I've had some people have to do that, just understand that the side effects might be a little worse when you go up. I never ever encourage skipping more than that 0.5 milligram dose of I think it's both drugs, if I'm not mistaken, go up by that much, or the next dose for that particular drug. It's really important to, it's actually not the same because it goes 2.5 and 5 for the Mounjaro. But anyhow, the next dose up. If you jump an extra dose over, you're going to really be sorry. You're going to probably have a lot of GI upset and nausea and vomiting, and it's not going to be worth it. Okay, so that is another option. And then a third option, which we have at our office, is compounding. So what compounding is a compounding pharmacy creates custom medication from the base ingredients, just like the pharmaceutical company does at their manufacturing site. So rather than providing like a pre-mixed formula, they may provide a powder, and then it gets mixed in the physician's office. It is really nice because with compounding, you can offer it at a cheaper price than if you were to pay full price with no insurance coverage. So it's usually about a quarter to a half the price of the full non-insurance cost of the medication, and it's convenient. So what the FDA did, and what they've always done if there's a shortage on any medication, is allow compounding pharmacies to supply it. And then when the compounding pharmacies have it, they ship it to doctors' offices, and then we can supply it to you. Right now in our office, we have all the doses of semaglutide, which is Wegovy and Ozempic. We don't have Mounjaro yet, or Tirzepatide. I'm just going to keep changing that name, I'm sure. Because that is a really expensive drug to try to get, and it's also it's been a little harder for us to get, but we definitely have compounded of the other ones. And for our office, just to give you an idea of what the cost is, $1,200 to $1,400 for would be the cost for paying full price. And so for compounded, it's somewhere between $350 and $450, depending on what dose you're on. The higher doses are more expensive, and that's per month. But at least it's better than what you're paying, what a lot of people are paying in other countries. So buying it from Mexico, or we have people getting it from Canada, some other places, and it's at least $600 or more, and you don't really know what you're getting. So we know that we've chosen a very good compounding pharmacy, and we've looked at all their stuff, and it's high grade, and we're happy with what they've given us. So that's compounding. All right, so next is, so those are the 3 things to do if you can't find your dose specifically. Okay, now what do you do if your insurance company suddenly decides to not offer coverage? And this has been something that has happened very abruptly, and with both of these medications recently, and we don't have an answer as to why. So we should, if you suddenly lose coverage, a very important thing to do would be call your insurance company and say, what happened? I didn't change my policy. Why is this coverage not being offered? I've lost X amount of weight on this. Is there someone I can talk to debate this? So you would be surprised that insurance companies actually have an area where you can go and advocate for yourself, or have your physician advocate on behalf of you. We do that quite a bit at our office. It's hard to do because you have to kind of try to find their schedule, but of the medical director, but it's very rare that we don't win a case, because we have the data and we send them all that stuff, and we show them this is what the patient did on this, and these are the meds you got off of, and this is the cost savings. This is speaking their language, and they will provide coverage, but they're just kind of banking on you and your doctor to be lazy and to not push forward with this. So just know that you do have those rights. And calling the insurance company, you can sometimes find a pathway forward that will make it free to you. So that is one thing you can do. And if you go to the website for these drugs, so you go to Ozempic.com, Wegovy.com, and Mounjaro.com, you will see that there is a place where they will actually look at your insurance plan and see if any of these things are covered and what the cost would be to you. Okay. So the cost for some of these are, as little as $25 and all the way up to $1,200 to $1,400 if you don't really have coverage. But at least you'll know. Both of these programs, both of these companies, Lilly and Novo Nordisk, have hardship programs, and they also have different coupons at different times. So that is another thing that might be able to help you. Okay, so check out the pharmaceutical website. Check out the pharmaceutical website if you lose coverage, and just see what it would cost for you. Definitely semaglutide is cheaper than the tirzepatide, but I'm saying that wrong. I'll get it. I will. I'll look it up and I'll get it. Tirzepatide is Mounjaro. That's almost double the cost. So if you're really hurting, you want to go to the semaglutide versus the tirzepatide. They are different, and the extra receptor on the Mounjaro makes it easier for us to use lower doses to get better results, and it tends to be well tolerated. And I will tell you something that we found with this drug is it definitely does something to serotonin and makes people feel better, and we're going to talk about that later, because if you can't get your drug and it's doing something with your serotonin, what's it doing when you don't have it? That's the feel-good hormone, right? Another thing it's doing with that extra receptor is it's helping with addictions. We're seeing people that, definitely have food addictions, but then they're not gambling, they're not drinking alcohol, they stop smoking. It really helps with all of those things, that extra receptor too. Okay, so that is what to do if the coupon runs out. And we will keep going here. All right. And then the next thing is, we already talked about contacting your insurance company. So when it comes to success on a medication, no doesn't always mean no. You have rights there. We talked about the compounded version. Another thing that is helpful is an app called GoodRx. So if you've never gotten this app, I urge you to get it and put it on your phone. This is an app that will actually query all the pharmacies around you and let you know where the lowest cost alternative is. In addition, they have coupons on the app that you can use for different pharmacies. They've partnered with them. So you can find out, how low these drugs are if you were to pay cash, if your insurance didn't cover, and who has the best price. And that can save you a lot of money if you find the one. Some of these drugs are $200 more at one place than they are at another place. So it will give you the best deal. And the coupons are really, really good that are on there. Okay, so we talked about, so just to sort of recap on this, so what to do when you lose your coverage or your coupon runs out. You can go to the website, Ozempic.com, Mounjaro.com, Wegovy.com, and see what they have to offer there. See if they have hardships. See if your insurance will cover it. If you're on one drug, maybe check out the other one. See if that's covered if you can't get that one. Contact your insurance company because you can advocate for yourself and your physician can advocate for you too. Consider the compounded version again, which we've already talked about. Look at GoodRx and see who's offering the cheapest available prices, and try to get your hands on that. And then the last thing that we didn't talk about is just consider a different medication, like some of our oldies but goodies, and see if you can try one of these instead. So this is what we're doing a lot now. So we have a lot of people who are not able to get coverage, and we don't have good supplies in the Syracuse area. So what we've done instead is just kind of go back to our old tools. And our old tools were older medications that have been, have really stood the test of time and are actually my favorites over the compounded because of this disaster. Also, they work really well. And they're cheap because they've been around for a long time and they're all in generic. So let's talk about some of these, and I'll tell you what I'm doing with some of my patients in case you just decide I can't do this anymore, paying $1,200 a month for a drug that may help me lose just a couple pounds, and I'm tired of going on and off these things and ending up having side effects. So one of the medications we use, so as obesity medicine physicians, we have used medications since our society started, which was, oh my gosh, in the 1950s. So at that time, the only medication that was really out, well, doctors were doing some funny things. They were playing with thyroid medications and stuff like that way back when. But phentermine was a medication that was out that they found did not hit the dopamine receptors, which means it wasn't addicting. At that same time, amphetamine was out, which was addicting, and which screwed up a lot of, stay-at-home moms in particular ended up addicted to this stuff, and it was really a bad situation, and they eventually had to take it off of the market. It was called, I forget the name of it, but they were truly amphetamines, and the name of it was amphetamine. So anyhow, phentermine, which is phentermine, used to be called Adipex, is a medication and that works so well, and it costs $5 to $10. That's it if you were to go buy it at a pharmacy. It's my favorite for one specific reason, and that is, well, first of all, for a lot of reasons, I should say, but the one that I love about it, which is different from the injectables and different from every other weight loss medication, is it's the only one that actually increases metabolism. So I have a lot of, if you can imagine, I take care of kids, I take care of adults, men, women, but I have a lot of women that are kind of going through the early stages of menopause or, premenopausal, but are starting to notice some belly fat, and their metabolism is very, very low. And that has to do with just the fact that the ovaries, when they poop out, they don't make testosterone, which is responsible for our muscle mass, which is also making it responsible for metabolism. So what we do is use phentermine for them because it helps metabolism, and it also works on the lateral hypothalamus in the brain to make you less hungry. So it is the only medication out there that does both of those things, addresses hunger and addresses metabolism. And we use a lot of it. We actually dispense it at our office because it's just easier for us because we use so much of it, and it's cheap. So again, $5 to $10 is it. It is very safe. It's very effective. They've tried very hard to remove this from the market, but we have so much data on it now And it doesn't cause any problems with your heart, doesn't cause any problems with your lungs. Everything that you read online is completely false. There's tons and tons of studies to back up what I'm telling you. And I usually just, when I have a doctor that says, get her off this, what are you doing? You're trying to kill her. I'll just send them the packets of safety cardiovascular data that has happened over the last 60, 70 years of this drug's existence, and then they don't bother me anymore. So very safe, very effective, great drug. Phentermine. Another version of phentermine that is shorter acting is called diethylpropion. And this particular drug will, whereas phentermine will last a whole day, 12 hours on average, the diethylpropion is only going to last 4 to 6 hours. But it's great if you have like nighttime snacking, or if you're someone who like around 3 o'clock, you need something to get you through to dinner. It will cover your hunger and increase metabolism a little bit too for that time. So diethylpropion, again, it's been around forever, since the 1950s, short acting, and it's a little, for some strange reason, it's more expensive than phentermine, but it's not bad. It's still only $18 to $25 for a 30-day supply, and it works great. Okay, so these guys have been around, stood the test of time, very safe, very effective, help metabolism, help hunger, and are well tolerated if you know what you're doing. You got to start low, go slow, and then work up with people, especially people who struggle with sleep. Got to take it early in the morning, and you also have to just, start lower doses if someone has anxiety. So the dosing we use at our office for the phentermine, going back to that, is 37.5 milligrams. And there is actually a lower dose of a medication that we can prescribe called Lomera, which again is only about $20, and it's about 8 milligrams of phentermine. So if you need to walk someone up on it slowly, you can do that. So we use a lot of that in our office. Diethyl we use too for people who either can't tolerate phentermine or just have a small window for that. Another medication is Contrave. So you may or may not have heard about that. Let's take a quick peek over here. And Contrave is a combination of a medication used for depression called Wellbutrin. And then it also has naltrexone in it, which is a medication that's used for addictions. Specifically, we use it to get people off of alcohol and some other things. So when you put this combination together, it's great because you're dealing with both the addiction pathway, so the eating food for reasons other than hunger, the hedonic pathway we call it, and the hunger pathway. And then it also kind of, improves your mood as well with the Wellbutrin. So Contrave by itself, it's, I think it's a great drug, but it can be expensive if you don't have a coupon. There is a coupon out now for $99 for 30 days. So, that's on the higher end, but it's not ridiculous. If you don't have that coupon, this drug is $500, which is stupid, because you can actually make it out of bupropion, which is Wellbutrin, and naltrexone separately, and put them together for a total cost of $25 to $30. So we do that a lot if someone wants to try this drug and can't afford it. It works really well. And as I said, it takes care of both pathways. The Wellbutrin is nice if you have someone who has a little bit of depression, or, here we have seasonal affective disorder in the wintertime. It's so dark and the sun doesn't come out a lot. So, it's nice. It's a nice drug for that. And it works. There's like 5 to 7% plus weight loss in the studies, which is enough to reverse diseases and get you off of meds. So that's good. All right, so that's another one. And then another drug that we use that helps with the addiction pathway. So if you're someone who's likes to binge eat, or you get into carbs and stuff and you can't stop at nighttime, you have planned binges, you get, premenstrual kind of carb cravings and stuff like that. Topamax or topiramate is a great drug for that. This has also been around for a long time. If you've heard about it, it's been used for migraines in the past. It's been used for seizure disorders. But we also found out that it intercepts that dopamine pathway, so it takes care of addiction. So it's a wonderful adjunct to something like phentermine. Or if someone has got their appetite and hunger under control and has decent metabolism, you can just use it by itself to help with snacking and craving and picking. And binging, that kind of thing. So it is... what did I tell you? Did I tell you $5 to $10 for 30 days for 50 milligram dose, which is the starting dose, but the dose we usually use. We usually take just we write it for nighttime, and then we start at 50 milligrams, but we can go up to 200 twice a day. It's a great drug. You got to work up on it slowly though, because if you go too high too fast, people can have problems with finding words. Other people, but that side effect is not, if we go slowly, it doesn't happen. Other people will say it changes the taste of soda, which is good if you get someone addicted to Coke or something like that. They don't like the taste once they're on it, and it helps with that, which is a strange side effect, but it is true. But it is a well-tolerated medication, and it works great for that particular situation. And it's cheap. Okay, and then finally, we have a medication called Vyvanse, which you may or may not have heard of. It's also called lisdexamfetamine. This is a medication that was used for ADD at first, but what we found is that it actually helps with binge eating disorder, and there have been some beautiful studies on it for that. This medication has totally been a game changer for our field. We have really been able to get people to control addictive eating patterns with even low doses of this medication, and they feel great on it. Very well tolerated. The only problem is it's expensive, really expensive if you don't have coverage. If you pay cash, it's, $350 to $400 a month, which is a lot. It is going to go in generic soon, which should dramatically reduce that cost. So that should be better, but it is such a good drug, and it works. And you can combine it with phentermine, you can combine it with diethylpropion, and it takes care of, again, both pathways. You got your hunger pathway, which phentermine or diethyl do, and then you've got this craving addiction pathway, which Vyvanse and Topamax do. So all these medications I'm mentioning can be used in combination, and are oldies but goodies that can replace any of the injectables that you're on. All right, so it's been quiet out there. I do have some questions that came in, but if there's any questions, just throw them up in the chat, and we'll address them as we go. All right, so we've got a question about insurance. Okay, the question is, my insurance stopped covering my Wegovy. I'm devastated. I have lost 50 pounds, and without it, I am now up 8 pounds already. What can I do? Okay, so I think we talked about some different options already. One is to switch over to compounding, to also talk to the insurance company and show your progress and advocate for yourself, and see if your physician is willing to get on the phone with the medical director, or if you can talk for your, and have a conversation based on your own rights. So I would do that. And then, I just got done talking about all these really great medications that are really cheap and that work wonderfully and have been around for a long time. So another option is to switch to one of these guys, or a combination of them, and they work very well also. So that's what I would say. Okay. Next question is, I am on 0.5 milligrams of Ozempic. I'm supposed to go up to, this is very common. I'm supposed to go up to the 1 milligram dose next week, but they don't have it anywhere. They have the 2 milligram dose. Should I just take that? Okay, this is like, I have such a beef with this situation right now, because these drugs are meant to be stepped up very slowly. So for semaglutide, which is Ozempic or Wegovy, it's the dose starts at 0.25 and then it doubles. 0.25, 0.5, 1, 2. Those are the doses. With Wegovy, it goes all the way up to 2.4. But the point is, it's really hard to jump a couple doses ahead, because your body has to get used to a couple things with the GLP-1s. They have to get used to what those receptors are doing in the gut, and the fact that they do lead to nausea if you go too fast and you don't train the gut how to handle these receptors being stimulated. The other thing is these medications actually decrease transit time through your gut, and so if you go from having things move normally, and then all of a sudden you're on something that kind of slows them down and abruptly slows them down, obviously you're going to get constipation that's really bad. You might even get if you mess with it, you could get a bowel obstruction if you go too high too fast. So it's not what you want to do. It sucks because there's so many people that are on, like, for example, a 2 milligram dose, and then they can't actually get it, and then they get it 4 weeks later or something like that, and then they have to, without having anything in their body, go back on that dose. It's just not good. But this is the situation we're in. I would not tell this person to go up to the 2 milligram. I would tell them to either stay at the 0.5 or even go down if they don't have the 1 milligram dose. I think that would be too quick a jump, and then they get sick and probably say forget it to this medication, which they could find a way to make it work. I don't see these dosing issues or supply issues or insurance issues going away anytime. So I think you may want to think about just maybe switching off of it if this becomes a problem that is continued, and go on to one of the ones we talked about at the end. Okay, so that is that. Do I restart a higher dose? Oh, this is that same person without titrating again. Yeah, I mean, that's a real issue because your gut has to get used to it. So if you're on, say, 2 milligrams and then they don't have it for 4 weeks and then they finally get it and they say, here's your 2 milligrams, it's not as bad as starting from scratch because your gut has some memory of it, but it still could be a real problem. And this is when we just sort of wing it and say, I wouldn't do it, but if this is the only choice you have, we can write you some Zofran and see how that goes, and you can make sure you stay on top of the whole constipation thing and, take some fiber or take some Colace or something like that. That will help keep things moving. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal. It's not the way we're supposed to be doing things. It's just awful. It really is. Okay. Oh, this is a really good question, and I'm glad this got brought up. So this one is about Mounjaro, and we started to talk about this at the beginning. So this says, I can't get my Mounjaro. I've been without it for 2 weeks. I've been quite depressed. Could this be because of withdrawing from the drug? And the answer is yes. So I am quite convinced at this point that Mounjaro hits the serotonin receptors and affects mood. And that it also, I think I mentioned, helps addictions. There's something about that GIP receptor that's different. I don't see this with semaglutide, Wegovy, Ozempic, but I do see it with Mounjaro. So everybody loves this drug because they feel great on it. They're not hungry. They don't have any addictions. Their mood is good, which is great. But if you suddenly don't have it, everything shifts back, and it's worse than it was before it started. So now people are starting to have depression that they haven't had forever, and it's bad. And they're starting to have addiction issues that come back worse. And they're having hunger problems that can't be abated because there's nothing to cover that. So I personally am not convinced that this isn't happening on purpose. I don't know what the reasoning would be, although I have some thoughts. But the whole fact that everybody got a coupon, way back when, for a whole year's supply to get everybody hooked, and now all of a sudden it's being put on and off, taken away, put back at certain doses, we still don't have an explanation why certain doses are available, certain ones aren't. It doesn't make sense. They're all made in the same plant. Why would you suddenly not have certain doses? So this is a very strange occurrence that we don't have answers for, and I'm seeing some really yucky things happening to patients who are withdrawing from these medications, particularly the Mounjaro. So this is something that we have to be careful of. And if you're feeling it, understand that it's not you, it's not a character flaw, it is the medication. And just talk to your PCP about it and work on shifting to something that can help you. I think a good one for someone who's taking Mounjaro and feeling depressed is to get on something like Contrave, or a makeshift Contrave with Wellbutrin and naltrexone combined that's generic, and that will address the depression part of it and the addiction part of it. So there's ways around this, but that's just horrible. That's horrible. Okay. Next question. I have a couple more. I think I have 3 or 4 more. If you're coming on board and you want to ask something, you can just pop it in the chat there. Okay, so I'm on 2.4 milligrams of Wegovy, which is the highest dose, and I've been out of it for 3 weeks. I just learned that they will have it next week. It will be 4 weeks without it. Is it okay for me to start back on such a high dose? The answer is I don't like it. It's something, as I mentioned, that a lot of people have to do right now, and it's not fair to our patients that they're being made to do this. It is going to probably cause some nausea and vomiting, more so than it would if you were to step up normally to the next dose, like from, in this case, it would be 1.7 to the 2.4 of the Wegovy. And, the only thing I can say is, be very, very cautious and watch for symptoms and stay hydrated. And, if you can get your doctor to write you some Zofran, do that, and put something on for constipation. If you start to notice it, put it on right away, and just pray that you're not going to have side effects, because this is not ideal, but it's happening everywhere. Okay, so a couple more. Oh, I hear this all the time. I heard phentermine is dangerous and causes problem with the heart. Is it safe? Okay, let's bust. We're not having myth busting today, but we're going to bust a myth right now. The myth is, phentermine is not safe. It causes heart problems. It causes pulmonary hypertension. It puts people in arrhythmias. You never sleep. You're addicted. Blah, 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 blah. All of those statements are false. Okay? Phentermine has been around since the mid-1950s. It has been tested more than any other drug because they've tried to remove it from the market for a very long time. The reason is, you're on phentermine, you lose weight, you don't need big pharma, you get off your drugs, you live a long and healthy life. Okay? So, not addicting, never hits the dopamine receptors. Tons of cardiovascular data that shows that it actually improves cardiac function because the person is losing weight and getting healthy. Okay? No ties to pulmonary hypertension, which was amphetamine, not phentermine, that caused it. Okay? No ties whatsoever. A lot of people say, well then, can you only write 30 days? Why is it controlled? Well, it's controlled for stupid reasons. When amphetamine came out, they thought they looked the same. They put them in the same FDA category, DEA class. And once it's in a class, it doesn't get removed regardless of what they find out later. So that is the reason. It's not at all addictive. You can start it, stop it at any time. It is a very safe, effective medication. So don't believe what you read. It's meant to bring that drug down. They've gone after it for 70 years now and haven't been successful because organizations like the one I was president of, Obesity Medicine Association, and others, the Obesity Society, places like that, have really done a lot of research on these drugs, and they're fantastic. Okay, and the last one on this list, I've got another couple more on a different one. I see Kathy has mentioned something here. Hi, Kathy. I've been waiting over 2 weeks to get my 2 milligram Ozempic from Walgreens. I had some 1 milligram dose left, so I've been taking 2 doses. Last week, the office told me to call around pharmacies until I can find it. Yes, this is what we had talked about earlier. The best thing you can do is call around and see if you can find anybody who has it. The other option is they won't, unfortunately, give you 1 milligram so that you can take 2. God forbid, that would be just too logical. You can try the compounding, which we have at the office, and that will definitely get you your dose. If you need to we usually will dispense a month's worth, and the cost for the 2 milligram dose is not cheap. It's $450 a month, but it's better than paying cash price of $1,400. So that's an option too. And the other option is, as I talked about earlier, you can, maybe think about trying something else that's cheaper to help, because this is going to be an ongoing issue, unfortunately, Kathy. It sucks. Okay, last one. I hope that helps, Kathy. I have heard weight loss drugs are addicting because if you stop them, you gain the weight back. Is that true? All right, so is an antihypertensive drug addicting because your blood pressure goes down to normal, and if you stop it, it goes back up? I ask you. It's not that the drugs are addicting. What happens is the body gets has a set point, which you've probably heard about, that is the highest weight you've ever been at, that if you withdraw the drug, it will go back to. And here's why. Hunger hormones go up when you lose weight, like ghrelin. Hormones that make you full, like GLP-1 and like leptin and others, they actually go down. And then the third thing to really make it hard to keep weight off is that your metabolism drops when you lose weight. So we call it the hormonal conspiracy of weight regain. And this is why these medications are so important to put on in maintenance, if you can get them, because they will help keep your weight down. And that doesn't mean they're addicting, it just means they're working. Okay. Hi, Jennifer. I miss you too. It's nice to see you on here. All right. So, okay. So I have a couple more, unless anybody has some over there. Let me grab them. Okay. I have heard weight loss drugs are addicting because if you stop and you can gain the weight back. Oh, I just answered that. That's okay. We're good with that one. All right, I guess I got them all. Okay, so that's it. Can you believe it? 6:44, 45 minutes. That's probably my shortest ever. So let's just make some closing comments that you can digest as you go, because this is an unprecedented time in medicine. I've never seen anything like this. I don't expect that it's going to go away. And I think we need to come up with some ways to get creative here so that we can stay healthy in the midst of this crisis. And it is a crisis, and it's a silent crisis because no one's talking about it. It's just like, go ahead, get sick on your drugs. Go ahead, go into a massive depression because this drug that helped your serotonin receptors is no longer available. Go ahead, gain the weight back. Go ahead, start the medication at the old dose, even though you haven't had it in you for 4 to 6 weeks, and try to manage those side effects. It's just awful. So I think that they're not, like I said, that none of this is going away. I don't know why insurance companies are being so diabolical right now, but that's not going away either. So it really is a good time to look past the injectables in particular, because some of these oldies but goodies that I mentioned are actually still available and they're cheap, and the supply is okay, because we don't have a million people that had coupons that now are being taken away. So try to, if you're having an issue, think about some of the medications I brought up, and if you come to our office, just talk to us about them, and they can certainly be added, or we can change you, or we can put them on top of what you're already on. And they do work great. They have always been there for us. They will, so long as I've been practicing, they haven't gone away. They've always been cheap and effective and helpful for us. So we survived with them before the injectables, and we will continue to survive after. So that's that. Now, I mentioned this already, but hi, Lisa. I really want you to question everything when it comes to medicine and pharmaceuticals right now. I thought it was very strange when about 1.5 years ago, suddenly there was a coupon for this new drug with a new receptor that we didn't know much about that was available to anyone who wanted it, pretty much. So just everybody have a coupon. Everybody get on this drug, right? And now, a little over 1 year later, people are truly having issues not getting this drug, which is affecting the neurotransmitters in their brain. I don't know which ones. I strongly believe serotonin is one, because I'm seeing people go up and down with these mood swings like you do with people who have a serotonergic issue. I also don't think it's great to put somebody on something to help addictions and then take it away, regardless of what the addiction is. That's dangerous. And that's also happening with Mounjaro. So why? You just got to ask yourself why. Why is it that these drugs are being withdrawn? Why is insurance no longer covering them? Why are we watching people suffer for no reason? This is a mess. Okay, so just be careful before you get on any new pharmaceutical that you understand what you're getting into, because this world that was already not so great with Big Pharma has gotten kooky. So I will just say that and just warn you to be careful. All right. I think this is also a super important time to work hard on getting healthy, losing weight. Obesity medicine, the reason why I went into it is because it's a medicine of disease reversal. So what we do most of the time is put people, take people off medications. We may have to add a med or two to help keep them there or get them there, but by and large, we got people coming off of 8, 10, 12 medications because their weight is now at a normal place. They've lost enough weight to reverse these so-called chronic diseases that aren't chronic if you have a normal weight. And we got them exercising and, you know, being a really active part of society again and feeling great. So think about it. If you haven't done it before, we have like a new reason now to really go after getting, you know, 5 to 10% of your weight off so you can get off of these things and not be dependent on these things that are fluctuating like mad. Okay. So, and then also, you know, don't forget that, you know, it's not just about the medication, it's about the other pillars too. So your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, your water intake, you know, the behaviors that you have that are behind the eating, all of those things can affect it. So it's not just about taking a magic injection to make you feel better. It is also about changing habits to make you feel better and to be healthier too. And then finally, and this is something that I think we can really have a good time with as a society, is what is out there in your own yard that can actually help you with manage your weight, control diseases, help with, you know, nutritional needs, vitamins, etc. So I think this is going to be we're going to be entering a new state of medicine where there will be less dependence on big pharma because we simply won't have it. You can see what's happening, regardless of what med you're on. You know, we've had supply issues with a bunch of them now. And what can we do with healing properties of herbs or supplements or the healing properties of certain foods, which were created not just to feed us, but to also help combat cancer and stuff like that. So as we move on our Facebook Lives and our blogs, we'll be talking about that a lot more. And, you know, something that I've started to do, if you can picture it, you might not be able to, Jennifer, because you know me, but I'm out there foraging these days and going out into forests. And, you know, I have a very good friend who's from Taiwan, and this is part of the way they grew up, and she just knows how not to get killed while you go and taste mushrooms, for example, out in the wilderness. So, but there is a lot of good stuff out there that can feed your family. But what's super cool is that most of these things have a nutritional component that's great, but then many of them also have a concatenant medicinal purpose too. So they have, you know, God made this world really cool. I mean, these things are out there doing two functions, and they've been out there a lot. And I will, you know, just sort of say, I know this, I'm being a little controversial, forgive me, but, you know, things that we've always called weeds that you want to try to kill, you make your grass green, a lot of these things are some of the healthiest things for us to take in, both in terms of nutrition and health properties. Okay, simple example is look up the functions of dandelions and all the different things you can do with them and all the incredible benefits to having them. So that's where we're headed. But I think that could be a real exciting time. It could be quite a challenge. And it's a lot of fun. It's fun to go out in the woods and to find this stuff and then to cook it and eat it and just say, I went and got that, you know. I don't know. Maybe there's a little wilderness woman in here, but she's having fun right now doing this stuff in the middle of this crisis. So I think you might too. I love the idea of herbs and natural non-pharma solutions. Glad to know we can work too, and we don't need pills. Amen. Yeah, or have bad side effects, right? All right, so that's it for me. I really hope you guys got something from this. Please, 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 if you think you know someone who's in the same situation that you might be in with these medications, please forward this to them and give them a chance to understand different ways to get past it. And have a great night. Bye, everybody.